Good morning. I'm talking today with Matthias Warkus, who is a postdoc at the University of Jena. He did his PhD 2 years ago on a semiotic, pragmatic construal of the concept of change. And I'm going to throw this die and see what questions I'm going to ask him. Can you name someone who's not a philosopher, although he pigeonholes himself as one, or the other way around? That is actually a very good question. I think that in Germany there are several people who usually are pigeonholed as philosophers, while they, strictly speaking, aren't. I suppose you all know who I mean. I'm not sure whether they pigeonhole themselves as philosophers. Perhaps the other way around, it's easier. There are many people in the life sciences, especially, but also in hard sciences too, who actually do lots of philosophy and would probably complain if they were called philosophers. I have trouble picking a particular person out. I think you have those neuro guys in Germany, like Roth and Metzinger, and all of those people. I think they actually, what they do is philosophy, and perhaps not even the best philosophy, and they would probably complain if I called them philosophers. So I think most scientists do philosophy at some point in their work. And there are many people appearing in the media who actually are not really philosophers, but they are sold to us as philosophers. But I'm not going to make anyone angry by naming names. Next question. From which philosopher would you like to have more primary literature? Actually, I think that's an easy question, because I did most of my work on Charles Peirce, and he wrote lots and lots and lots of stuff, but it's more or less fragmented. He never wrote a philosophical book. So I wish we had some bona fide philosophical books by Charles Peirce. I think that would make things much easier for other people working on his theories. Good. What was the first philosophical book that you have read, and when did you read it? I think the first philosophical book I read was Sophie's Welt, like for so many other German philosophers of my generation. And I read it when I was like 11 or 12. And it actually didn't want me, it didn't make me want to do philosophy. So it was not really an important event in my life. But I don't think it's a great introduction to philosophy either, but it's a nice read. On which philosopher or theory, living or dead, did your opinion change the most, and why? That's a hard one. I think it's probably either Heidegger or Wittgenstein, because I'm not sure which one would be the better candidate. With Heidegger, I got a copy of Sein und Zeit for my 21st birthday, when I had just taken up my philosophy studies. I was in university for barely 6 weeks, and I got a copy of Being in Time by my sister's boss, actually, who has studied philosophy and who's actually running a huge publishing company here in Bonn now. So it goes to show what you can become if you do philosophy. But and I read it as a young and naive student of philosophy, and I think it had this kind of fascination for me that it has for everyone who reads Heidegger without any prior knowledge. And I maintained the idea that this was very important, groundbreaking stuff, up to the point where I came to know American pragmatism, and where I started to understand that this kind of idea had been in the ideas of being and time had been in the air for decades. And it's just like many of the grandmasters of philosophy, he just doesn't give many references, so it looks more original than it is. And now with everything we know about the ideological context, I've come to think of Heidegger as I think you can get whatever inspiration you can get from Heidegger. You can get the same kind of inspiration from less problematic sources. That's one thing. And well, with Wittgenstein, I started out reading the Tractatus, and I was totally taken with it. And then I had a philosophy class with on logic and language philosophy of the Middle Ages with Volker Halbach, who is now full professor at Oxford, I think. And he gave an offhand remark where he said that the only thing Wittgenstein ever did that was new was the truth table method, and everything else is not original. And I was still very young and naive at that moment, and I accepted that, and I never read much Wittgenstein after, but I reread some of it for my PhD, and I'm now back at the point where I think that it's actually there actually might be a lot of stuff there, but probably not as much as most people think. So I think my opinion of Wittgenstein has changed like 2 times in different directions.
Super.